Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to another Funky Tuesday here on the fabulous How to Craft Network. I'm Sarah Gray, if you haven't seen me before, and this is the second Tuesday in a row that I've been in studio, so it's getting to be a bit of a bad habit, isn't it? But I'm particularly excited to be in studio this afternoon because we're launching our September bundle. So the goodies that we're going to be crafting and playing with during September are here on the counter with me, and I'll be able to take you through those. And I'll do that, and then I will say hello to some of the fabulous friends that I've already seen names popping up in the feed. So I always love it that you join me on these Tuesday afternoons. But let's go through the products first, because I find that this is a complicated bit before I actually start doing the demoing. So let me take you through what I'm bringing this month. And I hope you like it. I'd love to get your feedback. Let me know what you think in the comments as we go through in the chat. I've very much gone for autumnal vibes this month. I am so ready for the change of season. I'm ready for those kind of, getting into that cozy clothes again, and those really warm, rich colours of autumn. So that's really the kind of inspiration point for this release, for this collection. And the way we've done it this month is slightly different to last, partly from feedback from yourselves, and always want to hear that feedback about ways that you think we could configure the products better for you. So I've got two bundles on the counter, two smaller bundles on the counter with me, which also combine into a single collection. So when you're looking at the site in terms of shopping, you'll see two separate bundles and a whole collection. And I'll take you through that as we go. So let's start with the first bundle, and I think with the A5 stamp set, which is kind of the heart of the collection, this is a starting off point quite often for me when I'm putting products together. And this was designed for us by Donna Gray. She is a regular designer for us at Funky Fossils, so anybody who knows a bit about us as a brand will have seen Donna's designs before. And she has really done a fantastic job here with this Falling for Autumn A5 stamp set. It's a clear stamp set, large images, which hopefully you can see on the backing there. So you've got an autumnal wreath, you've got the cutest fox that I absolutely adore, you've got a really, really sweet, let me put the line work on the front, a really sweet hedgehog with a little apple in his kind of his coat there. A very discombobulated looking owl, and of course mushrooms and leaves and all those kind of autumnal scene builder elements that will make the projects really work well. So that is the kind of the core part. When Donna put this stamp set together, that was where I then went with the other items. And the second item in this part of the collection is our paper pad, Mellow Moments, and this is gorgeous. So as I was saying already, in terms of those kind of rich autumnal colours, this paper pad is packed with those. So you can see, I'm not a professional picker and flicker in terms of paper pads, but we'll see if I can do it justice. We've got the kind of rich browns and ochre yellows and the rustic orangey reds, really warm colours, but lots of lovely distressing details around the edges as well. So this is a 6x6 paper pad, 12 designs, 3 of each. And you'll see from lots of the samples, these papers really do sing on your projects. I adore them. So that is the 6x6 paper pad in this collection. And then there's a single stencil in this part of the bundle, which is called Autumn Days, which I've put together very much, again, it's a word-based stencil, but it's got those autumnal icons in it, like the pumpkin and the acorns. So you can use the whole thing as a background, or you could use different elements of it as single words if you wanted to. So those 3 items come together as a single bundle, which is item number 100563, and a fantastic price on that of £23.99, and of course if you're a club member, even less than that. So for an A5 stamp set, paper pad and stencil, hopefully you'll see that's great value for money. So this is now the second part of this overall collection, autumnal collection, and I suppose the star of this part of the collection is the die set, the tree line die set. So it's 2 dies, a solid tree line as a base, and then the more detailed overlay of the line work. So you can use them obviously together to give you that layered imagery, but equally separately. And I've seen samples where design team members have used them as a stencil, used the solid one as a stencil to create that kind of tree line effect, and have used each of them separately. So definitely a really versatile die set, this, and a good size. It really kind of gives you a good focal point on a card. And then the other 2 parts of this bundle are 2 stencils. They are stencils that we've had out previously, but I just think are perfect for this collection. The Forest Glade stencil, so that Forest, that looks weird to me. I'm trying to point and look at what's going on the screen. So the Forest Glade is the kind of the aperture stencil, so it gives you a scene to look into on your cards. And then the full foliage, beautiful, an abstract kind of really kind of full leafy background. So great for your texture pastes and sprays and all those vibrant colours. So that particular bundle is called Autumn Themes, with an item number of 100564 and a price for club members of just $18.99. And a lot of you will be club members. So for a good sized die set and 2 stencils, again, hopefully lots of value there for you. There is the option then of getting the whole collection together, the stamps, papers, dies, all the stencils. And if you do go down that route of getting the whole collection, the shop, the show, I'm also putting in a little layered MDF decoration, which is a smaller version really of the Forest Glade. So you can see there, you could actually make 2 decorations of this. You could have a single front piece with paper behind it and use a solid piece separately. I've designed them really so that you can actually have them together to create something with a little bit more substance to it. And it's beautiful. And just imagine if you had that as a gift for somebody, but then we're able to use the bigger Forest Glade and some stamps to make the card that goes with it. I've got a couple of samples just of the MDF just to give you a feel for how that works, because I mean obviously it's not always something that lots of you work with, but you can see here how beautiful those decorations look just using stamped elements from the stamp set and also the papers in the background as well. So that's literally an add-on from me as a thank you if you decide to invest in the whole show. So that is everything. Oh, and let me tell you what the whole show item code number is. It's 100562, and that is for club members under £40. So that's $39.89 for everything I've shown you on the counter. So lots to go out there. So shall I move over now to the demo area and we can say some hellos before I start playing with the goodies I bought. You know, the first message I saw there was Jo saying she's broken her MDF butterfly. Oh no, I don't know how you can break an MDF butterfly, Jo. That's a real shame. I'll message me afterwards. I'm sure I can get another one to you. But hello and welcome very much to lots of you here that I recognise already your names. Tanya and Karen and Amanda, Melanie, and there's Laura as well. Hi, Laura. So yeah, great to see you here. I hope you do like the bundle. It's very different from last month's butterflies. This is very much going with that kind of, well, that seasonal feel. So do tell me what you think and which bits of it that really appeal to you, because it's great. It gives me some really good ideas of the kind of things you'd like to see me bring in the future as well. So shall I? Oh, and let me also just say hello to those of you who are watching on Facebook. Oh, thank you, Maureen. I'm glad you like the collection. So it's Jules and Anthea and Marion and Dawn. So there's those of you watching on Facebook as well. So it's great that you're joining us on the different platforms that we're going live on. So yeah, I'll keep an eye. As you know, I will keep an eye on the chat as we go, and often that gets me distracted from my demoing. But I've got so many ideas with this bundle that I do want to share some of those with you during this show. Probably the only other thing to say before I go into demo, just to give you a bit of a feel for the kind of the format that we're looking to develop for Funky Tuesdays, is in chatting to Tony and Tim, we were thinking it would work well to do a kind of a release at the beginning of the month, the first Tuesday of the month, and that will enable us to look at some new supplies that we can be working with, and then for me to come back on the third Tuesday of the month and do, as I did with the last show, a bit of a craft along for those of you who've got the products, but equally a craft along for you to adapt the projects to whatever you already have in your stash. So first and third Tuesdays of the month are typically going to be Funky Tuesdays. We will obviously let you know when and if things change around different schedules, but that gives you an idea that I'll be back again in a couple of weeks with projects extending what we can do with this kit. So it's definitely worth getting now, because then you've got the opportunity to join in when I'm back on that third Tuesday. So hopefully that all makes sense. What I want to do in this first demo is, this demo is really about a series of misadventures, basically. This is where I was trying different things with stencils and they kept going wrong. And I wanted to share with you how I've then turned all those kind of slightly wrong turns into a final card and design. So let me start with the first stencil that I've used and was a bit kind of unhappy with how it was turning out. So I used the Autumn Days. Oh, thank you, Kathy. That's really good. Yeah, Joe, I'll keep off the embossing powders for you on the craft alongs. If you can break an MDF butterfly, I don't know what on earth you'd do with embossing powders. It's scary. So what I've done here with this stencil, the Autumn Days stencil with the words, I had gone through it with white texture paste onto some craft card. And it was nice, and it was kind of what I was going for, but in my head, I'd imagined something a little bit crisper. And this particular texture paste was slightly transparent. And also I managed to pick up some of the ink that I already had on my stencil. So there's kind of a bit of a yellowy tinge to it if you're looking at it in real life. So I was like, it's not quite the background I was looking for. So there's an easy fix for that. And I just wanted to share with you how I would typically alter something where I felt the texture paste, particularly a matte one like this. This is one that I think it's the Ranger one. So it's not got any particular sheen or glossiness to it. I'm just going to ink over it. So you're going to get the dimension of the paste, but you're also going to get the colours of the kind of autumnal colours of the inks. And I'm going to work with my trusty Distress Oxides, and it's just so lovely to be able to get out these autumn colours and have a play. But Crackling Campfire, Fossilised Amber, and I've got Walnut Stain as well. Really easy to place your stencil back over the design because you've got the texture from the paste, so it just clicks into place. We'll start with a little bit of Crackling Campfire and just give this a little bit of colour, and then we don't need to worry about the fact that the embossing paste hasn't given us the look we were going for. So I don't know if anybody has put in an order for the Distress watercolour pencils that came out at the weekend. I'm looking forward to getting those. I think all of us that like the Distress palette will be jumping in to get them. So I'm getting the Fossilised Amber. I'm going to just blend these together on the stencil and not worry too much. I'm not going to worry too much about the final effect for a reason that you'll see in a minute. I just want to make sure there's colour on there. Let's put a bit of Walnut Stain down. There is, yeah, Amanda, there is an ink called Carved Pumpkin. But I do like this Crackling Campfire, I have to say. For that richness, it's got a really strong orangey shade to it. But yeah, substitute any autumnal colours that you would like for this one. And so this stencil, I think it's a lot of fun to play with because, as you can see, as I'm bringing out the detail here with the inks, you know, you've got kind of quite large words which you can cut up and use as sentiments. You've got the pumpkin itself, which is really pretty much, if you cut that out, it'd be big enough to be a focal point or work with the images in Donna's stamp set. So it's definitely one of those stencils that you can kind of use in lots of different ways. So let's see what we've got. So I think, hopefully you can see there, that adding that colour over the top, because we've got the dimension of the texture paste, really makes that stenciling stand out, particularly against the craft, which is sometimes it's quite hard to do. So that's when I mean, what I could have done is tinted the texture paste before I put it on, but I wasn't planning. I was planning on having white stenciling, so that wasn't part of the original plan. But it's easy enough to add the colour afterwards. And equally, if you were going to add the colour to the texture paste, you wouldn't necessarily be able to place your colours quite as you wanted them. So I think that looks really, really nice on the craft. But I will be cutting it up to make the kind of the final design. So brace yourselves for that. And then the other misadventure I had in trying to put together a demo is I had mopped up lots of the, these were distress inks rather than oxides. I'd mopped loads up that I'd been using to watercolour images out. And I loved it. I loved the background. And I thought, oh, great, I'll use that. And I thought I'll use the foliage, the fall foliage over this. And I'll show you what I did in putting this together. So I'm going to use a bit of masking tape to hold this down, mainly because I'm using paste and the paper's got a slight curve in it, so I wanted to minimise the potential for this paste to get under the lines. It's such a busy background, it won't matter too much, but it's best just to give yourself that additional assistance of the texture paste, of the masking tape. And so what I did was I used a couple of metallic embossing paste. So it's a copper colour and a gold colour. And I'm sure you'll have similar things in your stash already. And I'm just going to whiz over these with a palette knife. I think we're all ready for these autumn colours, aren't we? Isn't it funny? I was saying on a live, Facebook Live yesterday, I think we just get to the point with the change of seasons where we're just ready to get a different palette out. This is a copper going over the stencil. I'm just going to wipe that off so I don't contaminate my gold. I'm going to pop the palette knife into that. There we go. And the nice thing about doing something like this, other than the fact I'm making a massive mess on this glass plate, this glass mat, is it kind of gives you that variegation of colour because they just mix together on the stencil for you. So slightly contaminated that, but I don't want to waste it. So when I lifted this stencil up at home and I was thinking about a demo, I was like, that is completely lost against the background. I was like, oh, what a waste of time. So I'm literally taking you through my misadventures. So I'm not, this is not like a demo of like, how good am I? This is me going, oh, that background was too busy for those colours and I can't really see my leaves anymore. So how do we save that one? Amanda, you just blues all year round. Blue is my favourite colour, I have to say, but these warm, rich colours, it's just yummy. Bear with me 1 second while I just spray down my counter and get rid of the worst of this texture paste. So I hope you recognise what I'm saying in terms of things that you in your head you think it's going to work out one way, and then you try it and you're like, I'm a bit underwhelmed. And that's where I was with this background. There's some gorgeous texture there and some lovely colour from the embossing paste. But I do think actually it's looking a bit flat because there's all those colours going on behind it. So we'll go to one of my tried and trusted techniques. This foliage stamp is just foliage stencil is just delicious. This time I'm using mud pie from Seth Apter, another wow powder. And I'm going to literally I'm not looking to cover the whole thing. I'm just do a bit of a dance there with my fingers to spread it a little bit, and then we'll do a flip. And then I think this is just bringing it out. Hopefully you can see, just brings out that foliage without completely obliterating the metallic colours behind it. But you've got that definition now there in the stenciling that you didn't have before. So that was another mini save, another little moment of relief, thinking, right, I can still use this background. So I've now got two stenciled backgrounds. What I would do, obviously I'm putting this one aside here to dry with the embossing powder on it. And then when the paste is pretty much dry, I will give it a quick heat with the heat gun just to set the embossing powder into the paste. It will hold it, but it will just make sure that you don't get any shedding in a final project. So I will do that off air because I've got one I've done already. We'll put that to one side. So, I'm covered. I'm absolutely covered. So I've got my lovely stencil background, and I have my leaves. And what I did from the ones that I had at home, is I literally die cut them into circles. So you can see here where I'm not going to use it. I felt both of those were probably going to be a little bit too busy as a full background in their own right for the project I had in mind. And also, not all of the background was as nice as I wanted it to be. So this was a way of just keeping those bits that I wanted to use on my card and having all those gorgeous textures as well. So I have die cut the my experiments into circles, and then I've gone ahead and die cut some of the papers from the Mellow Moments paper pad as well. So we're going to be able to put those onto a card front and create kind of a really lovely varied background that isn't going to overwhelm the focal point. So let's start to put that together, and you'll see where I'm going. I'm going to add just a little bit of fossilized amber around the edges of the card so it's not too stark white. And that won't take long at all to do. You find paste a bit messy, Julie? Well, certainly the way I use it is messy. I do like it though for the dimension it gives. It's nice. It gives a really nice textural look to a card. And then you can cut it down, as I've just shown you there, so it doesn't need to overwhelm what you end up making. So I'm literally just shooting around the edges with my blending brush, fossilized amber to give it a little bit of a soft glow to this card. And as simple as that. You could add a little bit of stenciling around the edges with the foliage to kind of bring the design in. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to map this panel, and then we can start to construct the card and think about where we want the imagery to go. So let's see if the glue is going to behave. Sorry, I'm laughing at the chat on the feed. You do keep me entertained. Right, so there we go. I've already got it matted onto some dark brown cardstock, so that's going to give us a nice border to the design. And then the most challenging part of this is going to be trying to work out how we want the flow to be of our kind of different textured and patterned circles. So I typically start with the biggest element just because that gives you something to anchor your other elements around. I think I'll go with this. I've got some of that stencil on the Autumn Days stencil on the papers there, so I quite like that. It's lacking some reds, I think. Lacking some kind of pop of that autumnal colours, autumnal reds. I like that one. I'm talking to myself now, you do appreciate that. So yeah, I think that would work. So we've got that movement down the card. If we glue these down, what I will do is I will pop this, I'm just going to add a little bit of, this is walnut stain, but just a little bit of brown ink around that central craft panel, just to give it a bit of a definition against the layers behind it. You could do this much more carefully than I am. You get the idea. Just gives it a little bit more definition. So I'm going to pop that main circle there on on some foam tape. So let's glue down the background circles first. And that'll give us a bit more dimension. And of course, I've got lots more bits here now that I can use for other projects. So it is always worth, even if you don't like the whole background you created, looking to see if there are bits of it that you can die cut out, salvage, use in different ways. You might want to kind of cut them into squares, strips, but they will work so beautifully together because you've got your palette is already going to give you that cohesiveness. All right, let's put some of this yellow down the bottom. And the reason I'm thinking of the yellow down the bottom is I want to add our gorgeous fox to this. So I want something that he won't be fighting with, which if I put one of the red circles down towards the bottom, it wouldn't really give the fox much chance to stand out. I'm hoping I make sense to somebody. And you could as well, if you were spending a bit more time, that you could go around all your circles with a darker ink, just to, again, give them all a little bit more lift and dimension. So definitely worth taking the time to do that. So let's get my jumbo roll of foam tape, which is a regular guest star on Funky Tuesdays. It's asking for its own billing. And it doesn't seem to be getting any smaller. I swear to you, this is the same roll of foam tape. But, you've got to go big. So let's just give this central circle a little bit of pop. Oh, is that where that one went? Oh, that's quite useful. Yeah, I'll leave it there. But it's not properly stuck down, is it? I'm having a debate with myself. I never agree with myself in my debates. So there we go. And that will work nicely. Yeah. So then you see you've got those reds just framing that central circle. So the only thing we really need to do to kind of finish this off, other than all the mess I've made on it, is add one of the images from the stamp set. And I'm going to go with this fox for two reasons. One is because he's absolutely adorable, and the other is he's a good size, so he really kind of is able to, on an A5 card front, still be not get overly lost with all those other patterns going on around him. And particularly if we put a little bit of foam tape behind him as well. And one of the beautiful elements that Donna's added to this box is she's got the leaves on the back as well. So again, you can bring in the colours that you've got in the main body of your card into the leaves that you add to your fox. And she often does that, Donna, with her illustrations. There's always little additional kind of touches which bring the characters to life. So, a word from the stamp set, just to finish it off. And I'm thinking autumn, obviously. So that's one of the words from the stamp set. And I've got loads stamped out already. Here we go. Here's autumn. If we put autumn there, let me have a look. I think it worked there. Yeah, I think I could. Actually, yeah, it will work there because we'll put the rest of that sentiment with it as well, and that will give it a little bit more company. Bit off the edge of the circle. And then if we go with the year's autumn, the year's last loveliest smile. I'm going to just cut it up. And then we can cascade it down towards the fox. That's what he's looking at. I don't know whose quote that is, actually. I'm seeing a lot of little fox icons in the chat now. I think one of the things that Donna does really well is she does whimsical images, but they're really kind of warm. They're not overly cute, if that makes sense, but they've got a lovely personality to them. So I'm covered in texture paste and embossing powder. It's almost like I've rolled in one and then covered myself in the other. But hopefully this project gives you a sense of how just using, I mean, these could be the scraps from your paper pad as well. I mean, these would be the bits that the offcuts. In fact, they are the offcuts from the sheets that I was using for the trees. So again, use it all, create those circles, and then equally, if you've got any kind of backgrounds with stencils that you're not 100% convinced by, you've got ways of actually still using them on your projects. So that's our first demo. I thought that's worked out quite well, given I was literally tearing my hair out when I was prepping this demo because I was like, everything was going wrong. So I hope you can see how I managed to pull it round. So I shall prepare for my next demo and try and hose down my work area. My next demo, I'm going to be using the trees, the die set, and going for something a little bit more clean and simple for those of you who like that cast style. So it's quite a quick demo, but I really want to show how effective the trees look. And you can see as well, while I'm just packing away and getting myself sorted, some of the gorgeous samples that the design team have kind of sent through for us to enjoy, and particularly the kind of, you can see how often the fox appears, because I think everybody adores the fox, but the trees are equally kind of a great focal point. And there's one there that's really kind of got that autumnal, almost a bit of a Halloween vibe with the dark trees, with that big moon behind it, with the autumn day stencil in the moon. So you can just see how the design team have taken things in very different directions. And I think Donna as well has made one there, and she's managed to use the autumn days with the foliage stencil and the box as well. So, you know, they all, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I genuinely, whenever I put a bundle together, I put a lot of thought into it working well. And certainly when I can see lots of ideas being sparked, either for myself or the design team, I think we've got the right combination of products. And I do love that autumn wreath. I just think that is a really great focal point. You can see it there just on those two cards. Again, different look. I think it's Samantha Reed has done the one with that dark background, which I wouldn't have thought to do, but I think it looks great. And there's one there with the film strip dies as well, which I think just brings those little characters out as well in kind of like a photo roll. So hopefully, and I did a live, just a very short live on our Funky Fossil Facebook page last night, and I went through all the samples that I had, not all of them, but all the ones that I'd come through to me at that point. So if you want to go back and have a look at the samples in detail, you can do. Equally, we'll be sharing them on online over the next couple of days, because there's lots of inspiration in there, much more than I can bring to you in a single show. So, are you ready? Are you ready for another? Hi, Emma. Are you ready for another demo? And this time, wanting just to show you how fabulous this layering tree die is. And here's the one that I'm going to use on my card, but I'm going to show you how I've put it together. So this is a small card, an A6 card front. And all I have done with these dies is simply, I'm trying to find the different bits, cut the solid piece out of craft card. So that gives us a nice, quite a sturdy base. I've cut another piece out of some of the pattern paper. And you can see already how, even if you didn't use the overlay, you could be kind of layering these up, in the patterned paper just as tree lines, and they'd look gorgeous on a card front. So you don't need the overlay, depending if you want to make it a kind of nice, really nice background effect. But I have cut it out twice in the base, because I've found that in terms of the papers, and the overlay is quite a delicate one, is that if I attach the paper to the craft base, I've already got something that's relatively sturdy. Another little thing that I wanted to share with you in terms of what I started to do was I started also to snip off the, I was going to say the stems, but they'll be the trunks, won't they, of the, so if I'm going to layer up, I'm not worried about lining up these little trunks, because they can sit on top of the craft base. So I'm just snipping those away, and it's just one less thing to line up and adhere down, because I don't feel I needed the trunks in the kind of the pattern paper. And then they really come to life as images when you do add, and I've cut this in dark brown cardstock, so it might look black on screen, but it's just a nice, really dark brown, and that brings it to life. So because you've got the pattern behind the line art, you've got something that's already giving you lots of visual interest. Put it over the yellow, and you can see how it will look different. And say you've all seen and done lots more than me with layering dies, so this won't be anything unusual to you. But you can see how it'll look different with the papers behind it. It looks fabulous as an image in its own right. And one of the things I am planning to do when I get more time at home is try this on some double-sided adhesive, and then kind of colour it with either mica powders or glitters, etc. So it'll be really, I think there's loads of really fabulous effects you can get with this die. And the only thing I did that took the image a little step further in the one that I'm actually going to use, and I'm not going to subject you to this live. It is fiddly, and some swearing did occur, so I felt it was probably safest not to try and do this on the network. But I used a craft as my overlay here, but I also cut the line art out of different colours of the paper pads, and then pieced different pieces back in. And I didn't want to cover the whole one, so it's just nice, and it gives you a nice kind of variegated look, doesn't it? It's like the trees in fall, but with the different kind of colours showing through. So you don't need to do the whole piece, because it's a bit like a jigsaw that will drive you mad. But it was easy enough to do, and I just thought it gave it a lovely kind of rustic patchwork look. So you can go from the basic, layer it over solid, or you go in and add even more detail. So I say I want to keep this form fairly clean and simple, but I do want to add a little bit of background to it because it will look at, to my eyes, just a little bit stark on the, I don't know what Emma's laughing at, on the card base. So I want to add a little bit of warmth behind the trees. So fossilised amber to the rescue as I get myself distracted again. And I'm going to go with some very soft colouring here. And I'm going to go about halfway down the front of this card. I'm wanting to keep the bottom of it relatively clean and clear. And I want it to fade up towards the top. I'm not wanting this to be a particularly strong inky background. Again, we don't want to fight too much with the detail of the die. I want that to really kind of sing. And I was going to add, in fact, let's add, because this stencil has got all these colours on it already, hasn't it? So actually I can just pull them in. And I'm going to try and avoid anything too big like the pumpkin, because I don't want that. Again, it'll be a bit of a distraction. So yeah, there should be enough ink on here for me just to pull in and get some different colours quite subtly in the background. Again, trying to avoid the bottom, trying to avoid the bottom of the card here with my stenciling. So let's move this up. So this is what you can do with this word stencil. You don't need to use it all as a solid image. Just pick out the bits that you want. So I'm trying to avoid, as I say, the pumpkin on this occasion. And this is all background. I'm hoping that's going to show up on screen. And what I want to do on top of that is use the foliage. Here it is. Use the foliage again. And I'm conscious that in this show I've neglected the forest glade, but I promise that when we come back on the third Tuesday, I'll make sure that I feature that in a demo as well, because it's a gorgeous stencil to use. So a little bit more fossilised amber. I'm going over the stenciling I've already done. This is about background, interest. Oh, thank you for sharing, Dawn. I'm glad you're liking the colours. Hi, Glynis, as well. Oh, it's very kind of you. Anybody who does like and share, I really appreciate you taking the time and effort to do that. So again, I'm not worrying about overlap here. This is an abstract stencil. This is about, again, just some autumnal vibes. So you can, I don't know if you can even see it. Let me go back in and add a little bit more. I'm going back to being underwhelmed by my backgrounds again, aren't I? So if we put, yeah, I'll put it back in the same place. So for the purposes of, I probably wouldn't go this heavy with the colour, but for the purposes of making that kind of imagery visible, adding a little bit more there. I could always go in with the crackling campfire just to bring it out. However, let's just see where this goes with the image in front of it, because I don't want to make it any more stronger colour than that, really, because that, I think, otherwise we're going to lose our focal point. So again, you could just literally ink it. Hi, Debbie, you found us. You could literally ink it. I'm just thinking of ways of adding a little bit more texture and interest that makes somebody maybe look twice or look into the card to see what's going on behind the trees. And we'll go back to our jumbo roll. And we've got there, we can really kind of see these gorgeous rich colours in person. Let's have a look. I mean, this image itself, I mean, this is why I'm going to do a clean and simple card with it, because I just felt it didn't need an awful lot more. So I'm putting this quite high up on the card. And by even just adding that foam tape behind it, I think that gives it a little bit more dimension and separation. And then the word of the day, the word I'm going to put on here is thankful, which is again from the stamp set. But I think, again, it's a great kind of, autumn's that time, isn't it, for Thanksgiving and gratitude and reflection. So I wanted to have a sentiment like that in the set that you could use. I'll pop that. I could have stamped it directly onto the card, but I'd already added a dimensional element to it, so I felt that I was going to be risking it too much. And you know what? Let's add a few enamel dots, because I've remembered to add them. That in itself is a reason for celebration. Put them literally. I don't think we have any more in stock, but these were part of last month's products. These have not stuck down. And that is as simple as it gets. An A6 card front, playing with your dies, but giving yourself the opportunity to get that kind of variegated look with that glow of the autumnal colours behind it. So I've got that. I like that. I hope you like that one too. So you can see that. I think pretty much everything I've used there, other than that stamp, is from the Autumn Scenes bundle. So that's what you could be making. Other than the papers, of course, it's hard. The whole bundle's got everything in it that you might possibly need, but certainly that die set, if that's the thing that really appeals to you, then you've got that there for $18.99, along with the stencils that we've used in the background. So hopefully you can see ways that you'll be able to incorporate that in your autumn stash. Have we got time for a very, very quick third demo? And in terms of just that, while I'm setting up, just remember that whole shop the show. I mean, even the whole shop the show is only under £40 for club members. So that's item number 100562. Because I have to say, that paper pad is just absolutely stolen my heart. Now, what I wanted to do for a third demo, and it's a quick one, and it'll be a very quick one if I can't see where I've put it. Oh, it's here. It's on the end of the counter. Oh, that's a great sample on screen there where Donna has used the Forest Glade stencil. So all she's done to make that look so fabulous is just gone round the trees with a fine liner pen to make them look like birch trees. So there you can see how it kind of frames your imagery for... That's one I've not been able to get to this show. And I wanted to just take a very quick minute as we kind of draw things to a close to just share how I'd put together one of the MDF decorations, partly because I'm very conscious last month, I never really got around to the butterfly. Jo's broken hers now, but somebody else might still have one. And I don't want to add MDF onto the shows and then leave you without ideas of how that you can pull them together. They're very, very simple. I don't do complicated MDF. Don't do complicated anything. So all I have done is, this is the solid base of the two-parter. I have gone through my paper pad. Actually, the best way of going through your paper pad is using the overlay element, because then you get a feel for what's going to be appearing in your scene, if that's going to be part of what you want to kind of focus on. So I have gone through my paper pad and decided, on this occasion, I went with this one with fabulous birch trees in the background, literally drew around it with a pencil and cut it out. Yes, that's how complicated it was. So I've got that, and I'm going to just stick it down very quickly. And then just in terms of tips and tricks with MDF, for those of you who don't use it regularly, and maybe feeling a little bit unsure about how you would use it, simply gluing this down Now this is an untreated MDF. I've not put any gesso or anything onto it. I don't need to really when I'm covering it with paper. There's no real kind of need to kind of give it any coat. If I was going to paint the top, so that's how quickly we've got our base there, all I would do is just go around it with a sanding block, cheap as chips, fine grade sanding block, and literally by just sanding away from yourself, you'll partly help the paper to stick to the MDF base, but also you're just going to tidy up that edge. On this occasion, it's not really going to matter because you've got your overlay, so you know it doesn't matter if there are bits of your cutting that look a bit tatty, but that is a way of getting a nice neat edge. Now, if I was going to paint this MDF overlay, which would look fabulous, I probably would put some gesso on it because MDF is really thirsty. So in terms of paints going onto this, you just end up needing you'd need more layers, potentially more layers than just the one to get the coverage you're wanting. But what I found was really good if I wanted to get a wood stained look is some acrylic ink, but it would also work. I've got a heart here to show you. I'm just going to put this on my mat. So this is a Liquitex acrylic ink, but any kind of acrylic ink will work. This is burnt umber, and then we've got some raw umber. It's so easy to do. However, if you don't have acrylic inks, what I was going to say is I've stained this heart, this MDF heart, just using the Isings. So just using the coffee and licorice, I think I used on this, straight onto the MDF. So no coating at all. It's a lovely thirsty surface. It just drank it in, but you then immediately get kind of a wood stained look, which goes perfectly with this MDF. So again, don't worry about needing, if you think, oh, acrylic inks, I don't have those. You don't need them. You can absolutely use these kind of sprays. I hope, oh, there we go. Got some water here. I was going to use one of Tony's gorgeous brushes, but for this, probably not. And I'm literally going to throw this on really loosely and quickly because you'll see the MDF is just going to drink it as I'm putting it on. And all I'm wanting is a dark overlay to our base layer. And you can see how little technique is going into this. And because it is thirsty, if it dries a little bit lighter, you can always go in and add more. But it just takes that MDF-ness off it, if that's what you want. But it saves you needing to necessarily put gesso on and paint it. So that, for me, is a bit of a quick fix for getting a nice overlay. And I'm sure Emma's been using the confetti inks directly onto MDF as well. In fact, I tried confetti inks onto MDF that I put gesso on, and that beaded. And that will be because the gesso was resisting the ink. So if you're going to put confetti inks onto your MDF, probably best to put it directly on, and then the MDF will just absorb it in. So that is as simple as it gets. This might be a bit mucky, but you can see then you've got that beautiful contrast with the ochre yellows and the rich brown overlay. And all I'm going to do here is whack a leafy garland over the top, which is from the stamp set, and we'll put the word thankful in the middle. So if I literally glue that down, what I really wanted to do is just share with you ways of colouring your MDF if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't know what I'd do with it if I got it. And so I'm going to stick this down and then just finish by showing you what we've made in this show. And there'll be lots more inspiration over the next few weeks. And as I said at the beginning of the show, if you've joined us a bit later, I'll be back. I'm planning to be back on the 3rd Tuesday. I don't know what date that is, but the 3rd Tuesday of September. And we'll do some more crafting with this bundle. So if you get it in the next day or two, you should have it in time to join me. And I'll try my absolute best as well to share the project that we're going to make in advance and a list of what products would help you join in with me. Because I was really blown away by some of the fabulous samples that I saw people share after the last one. I was honestly, you don't know what a difference it makes to know that you've kind of given it a go yourself. So there we go, very simple MDF decoration. Alongside, I've got more projects and I've got hands. So we started with this big A5 card front with all those kind of bits of texture and stenciling that really kind of were all going a bit awry. But I was able to use them as circular elements to create that background. And then, you can see the difference in size, can't you? And then we've got the A6 card with the gorgeous tree die, just really providing the kind of key focal point there for that particular design. So simple and easy to do. Have a die cutting session, you get loads of those made. And then we finished with a little bit of wonky. And yeah, but again, just showing you how very simple it is. Paper on the back, a little bit of staining on the front, and you've got a decoration there to give as a gift along with one of your cards. So I think that is as much as I'm going to share with you today. I've got lots more ideas, and I really do hope you'll join me on the 20th of September for our craft along and play with me, and we'll try and come up with some other new ideas. And there are bits of this bundle I haven't even got to. I haven't got to the forest glade. I haven't played with that autumn wreath. There's loads more with the papers as well. So it's definitely a collection that you will find you using throughout this season, and lots of different ways to use it too. So thank you very much for your company. Thank you for joining me again for our Funky Tuesday. And I look forward to reading more of your comments and seeing you again very soon. Well, 20th of September. That's when I'll see you. Bye for now.